Former London councillor, a young Mr. Sam Stopp, he left the Labour Party earlier this year because he didn't like the way the party was being run by Corbyn and all the alleged anti-Semitism problems Labour has. I have little doubt that there are anti-Semites in the party, as there are in other political movements. It's sadly very common. Anyway, I've read a couple of articles by this Sam Stopp fellow. One in early April. He's talking about darkness, ugliness, and sin at the core of Labour. And in time, he will reveal it. He says the party is influenced now by, in his words, feudal socialists, hyper-liberals, Putin sympathisers, Islamists and pseudo-intellectuals who, quote, hate this country with a putrid passion. Very colourful language, Mr. Stopp. His article in and of itself reveals nothing other than his own personal bitterness and perhaps his own reactionary tendencies. The perceived enemies he's rallying against sounds like a laundry list of adversaries drawn up by a conservative columnist writing for one of our world-famous tabloids. Yeah, it's angry, it's accusatory, it's inflammatory, but where's the substance? No mention of Labour Party policies or principles. It's a me piece. Link below if you want to read that one. And then more recently, yesterday in fact, he wrote an opinion piece which showed up on Euronews called Brits Want to Leave Europe's Party Because the Fun's Over and We're All Tired. He opens up by assuming he knows what so-called ordinary British people are thinking, and in the first paragraph he's talking about not just the fall of the EU, but the fall of Europe itself. He says Europe has surrendered its culture over the last few centuries. And he's rallying against the gods of capitalism and individualism. He's attacking cultural relativism and empty materialism. And he calls on Europe to build on older, deeper foundations. Whatever could he mean? One suspects Sam might be a religious fellow with a coloured view of European history, let's say. But anyway, Sam says British identity is, quote, defined by exceptionalism, and we have little time, if any, for the idea of being part of something greater than ourselves. He then says arrogant, maybe. Necessary? Certainly. To which I say arrogant? Certainly. Necessary? Nope. Clearly, young Mr. Stopp admires the ideal of isolationism. That old story, and it's not a uniquely British thing, the narrative is far older than our country. It's the underdog, the scrapper against the big bad bullies, that narrative. I'm sure this gentleman is aware of the history of the British Empire and its many crimes. The British state, its establishment, has at one time or another tormented and brutalised the underdogs of the world. This truth won't be lost on a clever fellow like Sam Stopp. He is right about the Second World War, the British stand early in the war against Hitler being part of our national conscience. How could it not be? But this can be abused and manipulated by power-hungry people or identitarians with a less than admirable agenda. So, in this article, link below, bold and brash predictions are made about the future of Europe by a young British identitarian who has taken it upon himself here to speak on behalf of British people. The voice of the nation. Our way of doing things is best. Europe is doomed unless it gets back to its roots. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think Mr. Stopp's view of Europe, his blinkered and maybe sheltered perspective, is unique as such. It's easy to take cheap shots at an imperfect political union like the EU, while ignoring or glossing over its dedication to democratic principles and human rights. One little man talking about a continent of hundreds of millions of people surrendering their culture is clearly hoity. It's also demonstrably wrong. People change. Cultural shifts occur. Cultures grow as new influences come about. European societies are not static. To talk of cultural surrender is a nonsense.